Chan students, welcome to live session of English class once again. And today we are going to study chapter number 4, The Enemy, from our supplementary book, and it's a third part we are going to study today. So let me share with you the story first. Wait a minute, students. And now here it is, and we will study from page number 30, last second paragraph. From here onwards we are going to begin today. Now see, as in the last class that we had studied that the master ought not to heal the wound of this white man. He said bluntly to Hannah, that servants were not satisfied with the act of their master, Dr. Sadao, to save the life of the enemy soldier. So that's why they said that to Hannah, that the master out means the master means Dr. Sadao should not heal, should not treat the wound of this white man, and the white man ought to die. And it was their opinion, because they were the common people, they were not the doctor. So they were quite clear about their idea that at any rate they did not want that the life of that prisoner of war should be saved. So first he was shot. Now in order to explain that, he told to Hannah that first he was shot by a bullet, then the sea caught him and wounded him with her rocks, and even that sea wanted to kill him. And if the master heals, master saves what the gun did and what the sea did, they will take revenge on us. Means somewhere that he was superstitious, and he also believed that if that Dr. Sadao is going to save the life of that American, that enemy, then we will have to pay for this later on. Even indirectly he threatened to Hannah for the consequences, bad consequences of the saving the life of the dying man. I will tell him what you say, Hannah replied courteously. Very politely Hannah replied to him, told to him that she will tell to him what he said. And but she herself was also frightened, although she was not superstitious. But even though she herself was frightened, as she herself was not willing to save him and keep in her house as the old man was. And could it ever be well to help an enemy? Nevertheless, she told Yumi to fetch hot water and bring it to the room where the white man was. And she herself was thinking that will it be good to save the life of an enemy? And remember, students, at that time that there was a war, Japan was war against America. Americans were ruthless people, and they were killing ruthlessly, mercilessly to the Japanese people. And in that critical moment, if they were going to save the life of an enemy American prisoner, American soldier, this idea was not being digested to her herself. And now see that in next paragraph It is described that she went ahead and slid back the partitions, and meanwhile that she told Yumi to fetch the hot water and bring it to the room where the white man was. And she went ahead and slid back the partitions. Sadao was not yet there, and Yumi, following, put down her wooden bucket. She was carrying a wooden bucket. She put down and followed the order of her mistress, and then that she went over to the white man. And when she saw him, her thick lips folded themselves into stubbornness. "I have never washed a white man," she said, "and I will not wash so dirty a one now." And now she was very clear about her idea. She was a poor lady. She was a common Japanese, so she also behaved. She had the patriotic feeling towards her country, and it was quite natural, and that's why she very clearly told to her that she will never wash a white man. That shows her hatred towards the Americans. And even further she told that I will not wash so dirty a one now, because he was a dirty person. And Hana cried at her severely. That somewhat that Hana became angry. Angrily she said to her that you will do what your master commands you. That somewhere she commanded her, she ordered her to do whatever she was saying her to do. So there was a fierce look of resistance upon Yumi's round dull face, and Hana felt unreasonably afraid. Then by the facial reaction of Yumi, that Hana felt unreasonably afraid. She felt afraid that she could oppose. She realized it that Yumi will not follow her order. And after all, if the servants should report something, that was not as it happened. And then she was also afraid that if servants can report to the police about harboring the enemy soldier, it will not be good for them. Then she relaxed herself and said, "Very well, you understand, we only want to bring him to his senses so that we can turn him over as a prisoner." And then she softly said to her that you should understand that what we are trying to do means they only were trying to bring him into the senses, to bring his consciousness, and once he becomes conscious, then easily they will hand him over to the police. And I will have nothing to do with it, Yumi said. "I'm a poor person and it is not my business." And then very bluntly, clearly that Yumi said that she had nothing to do with that matter, because she was a poor person and it was not her business. It was not the part of her business to watch the white man. "And then please," Hana said gently, "return to your own work." And then Hana realized her intention, and politely that she told her to go and do her work. At once Yumi left the room, but this left Hana with the white man alone. And when Yumi left the room, that Hana was alone with the white man, with the enemy, and she might have been too afraid to stay had not her anger at Yumi's stubbornness now sustained her. She sustained her only because she was angry at Hana. Otherwise she did not have any intention to stay with the white man, because she herself disliked Americans, that enemy. Stupid Yumi, she muttered fiercely, angrily, that she, muttered, she said to herself, is this anything but a man? And a wounded, helpless man. And she was, in this way that we can see that she had a kind heart. And kindly, she said that Yumi is stupid, she is unable to understand this fact that is this anything but a man, means after all he is also a human being. That shows her human consideration. Not only doctor, rather his wife Hannah had also given top priority to the humanity on racial, putting aside that racial discrimination. And a wounded, helpless man, and after all he was a helpless and alone and wounded man. So in the conviction of her own superiority, she bent impulsively and untied the knotted rugs that kept the white man covered. And in that the conviction with the firm belief that of her own superiority, she maintained her superiority, and she bent impulsively and untied the means. Then she herself, took off his clothes, means American soldiers' clothes. When she had his breast bare, she dipped the small clean towel that Yumi had brought into the steaming hot water and washed his face carefully. And in this way that she herself had washed the body of that enemy. The man's skin, tough, though rough with exposure, was of a fine texture, fine structure, and must have been very blonde when he was a child. Now she was thinking about him to see his body. She was thinking that when he would have been a child, then he would have a that blonde body, means a golden, a good, nice body. She had some human consideration about him, to find that he was helpless at that time. And while she was thinking these thoughts, though not really liking the man better now that he was no longer a child, she kept on washing him until his upper body was quite clean. And even though considering all these things, she had hatred against him, but even though that she kept on washing his body, but she dared not turn him over. But she couldn't turn him over. And where was Sadao? She was seeking for her husband, Dr. Sadao, and now her anger was ebbing, and she was anxious again, and she rose. Now her anger was somewhere that she had softened her anger, and she was anxious again, and she rose, wiping her hands on the wrong towel, and she washed her hand with the towel, and then lest the man be chilled, she put the quilt over him. Then she thought that the man, Americans, enemies, body could be chilled, could be cold, so that's why she had covered his body with the quilt. Sadao, she called softly, and then after she sought for Dr. Sadao, and he had been about to come in when she called, and he himself was coming inside while she was calling for him. His hand had been on the door, and now he opened it, and she saw that he had brought his surgeon's emergency bag, and that he wore his surgeon's coat. By that time he was absolutely ready for the operation, as he had brought his surgeon's emergency bag, and he was also ready with the surgeon's coat. And you have decided to operate, she cried. Now she understood, Hannah understood, that Dr. Sadao was ready to operate him. Yes, he said shortly. He turned his back to her and unfolded a sterilized towel, opened a sterilized germ-free towel upon the floor of the tokonoma alcove, means that was a place to keep something, and put his instruments out upon alcove. Fetch towels, he said. Then he said to Hannah to bring towels. She went obediently, but now anxious now. But how anxious now, to the linen shelves and took out the towels. Means obediently, she went obediently. Remember students, whenever if you will have to write the role character sketch of Hannah, you will have to mention this all, that her quality, she had a good quality. She was not only kind, rather even after being disliked by her, she disliked the enemy soldier, but even though she was helping her husband to perform an operation, because at that critical time when all the servants were on open defiance, they disobeyed them, they were not ready to help him. Then she thought, as a wife, as a dedicated wife, as an obedient wife, she thought it was her duty to help her husband. That's why she was following every order of her husband obediently. And there ought also to be old pieces of matting, so that the blood would not ruin the fine floor covering. At that time, that because that he was kept in the room of Dr. Sadao's father, and since that floor was covered with fine carpet, so she did not want that carpet, that matting should be ruined, should be stained by the blood. So that's why she went to bring some piece of some pieces of matting to cover it from upper side. And she went out to the back veranda, where the gardener kept strips of matting with which to protect delicate shrubs, delicate soft plants on cold nights, and took an armful of them. Then she went back, and where gardener had kept some pieces of matting, and to hide the delicate shrubs, and she took a warm armful of it and brought it to cover the flooring. And but when she went back into the room, she saw this was useless. The blood had already soaked through the packing in the man's wound and had ruined the mat under him. She wanted to protect the fine matting, but while she came, she found that the blood stain already had been fallen on the matting, so that's why it had already been ruined. And the mat, she was crying, she was crying for the mat, the fine mat. And yes, it is ruined, Sadao replied, as though he did not care. But Dr. Sadao did not care for, because he did not care for the matting. Rather, he was completely involved in his work to save the life of the dying man. Help me to turn him. He wanted to get the help of Hannah to turn him, and she obeyed him again without a word, and he began to wash the man's back carefully. And then Dr. Sadao himself had washed the back of the enemy soldier. And Yumi would not wash him, she said. Then she told that Yumi had refused to wash the enemy soldier. And did you wash him then? Dr. Sadao asked Hana that would she do that? For a moment, his swift, concise movements, Sadao asked, not stopping for a moment. His swift, concise movements means he kept on doing his work. And she asked that would she wash his body. Yes, she said. And he did not seem to hear her, but she was used to his absorption. That absorption, involvement, it was his habit. He was very much dedicated to his profession, Dr. Sadao. And so that Hana could understood his involvement, that once he has involved in his work, he does not listen anything. So she understands him very well. And when he was at work, and she wondered for the wondered for a moment if it mattered to him what was the body upon which he worked, so long as it was for the work he did so excellently. Means that Hana was thinking that he was uncared about that what kind of body he was working on so skillfully, so excellently. Means while he was treating as a doctor, while he was treating, he did not consider whether he was treating to an enemy or a friend. That shows that how dedicated he was towards his profession. And you will have to give the anesthetic if he needs it, he said. And then he also said to Hana that if required, you will have to give him anesthetic to maintain his unconsciousness while he was doing the operation. It could be required. So she repeated blankly, and but never have I, because that Hana had never participated in any kind of operation. She had not even seen, so she did not have any idea how to give anesthetic. And it is easy enough. Then doctor said that it is easy enough, he will tell her what to do. And he was taking out the packing now, and he was opening the packing of his wound, and the blood began to flow more quickly. And then he started his injury wound started bleeding more quickly, and he peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light. He was having on his forehead the surgeon's light, which was tied on his forehead, and the bullet is still there, so he could see inside the wound. And then he found that the bullet was still there inside his body. And he said with cool interest, now I wonder how deep this rock wound is. Now he was thinking about the depth of the wound, and if it is not too deep, it may be that I can get the bullet. And even he said that if it will not be so deep, then he can get the bullet. But the bleeding is not superficial, but the bleeding was not very deep, as he has lost much blood. Much of the blood had already been flown from his body. And at this moment Hana choked, and while he was doing his operation, at that moment Hana's throat was choked. He could not breathe properly to see the situation, to see the scene, that because she was not habitual to that kind of seen, she had never involved in any kind of operation, so that's why she felt choking. And he looked upon and saw her face the color of sulfur, and even that he looked upon and saw her face the color of a sulfur, means that the Dr. Sadao saw her face that she was not feeling, she was in pain, and that's why her face had turned to yellowish. Don't faint, he said sharply. He did not put down his exploring instrument. And Dr. Sadao asked Hannah not to be faint, and if I stop now, the man will surely die, because he could not leave him in between the operation. And he said that if at that time he will try to stop, he will surely be died. And even that's why that he even could not go to help Hannah in her pain. And she clapped her hands to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room, and putting her hand on her mouth, she went out of the room immediately. Outside in the garden, he heard her retching, that she was trying to vomit outside the room in the garden, and but he went on with his work. And another example, we can see that how he was dedicated towards his duty, how he was involved in his operation, that even in she needed at that time, Hannah was needed the help of Dr. Sadao, but Dr. Sadao could not leave the patient in between, so he could not go to help her. It will be better for her to empty her stomach, he thought. And he had forgotten that of course she had never seen an operation, and because that he was so much involved in his duty, that he had forgotten that Hannah had never seen any operation. And but her distress, but her pain and his inability to go to her at once made him impatient and irritable also with this man who lay like dead under his knife. And then that since he was unable to go to help Hannah in her pain, that he became impatient somewhere, and he blamed for that to that man who was in the dying condition. So now further let us see that what happens, that this man, he thought, Dr. Sadao thought that this man means the enemy soldier, the Tom, and there is no reason under heaven why he should leave. Now since he himself was in pain, so that's why painfully he thought that there is no reason why he is trying to save his life, why he should be alive. Unconsciously this thought made him ruthless. The soft hearted doctor had become ruthless, hard, unconsciously, when he found his wife in pain because of him. And he proceeded, and he found himself unable to help her. Then he proceeded swiftly, and in his dream the man moaned, but Sadao paid no heed except to mutter at him. And in his dream the man moaned. Man was trying, means he was unconscious, but even that he realized the pain, and because of that he was moaning. He cried in pain, but Sadao paid no attention except to mutter at him. He muttered something but did not pay attention for his crying in pain. Groan, he muttered, means then he said, Dr. Sadao said that groan if you like, if you want to groan, cry in pain that you can. I am not doing this for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I am doing it. Even though he was performing his duty, he was doing operation, he was trying to save his life, but even though still he felt that he was unable to understand why he was trying to save the life of an enemy. This conflict was going on in his mind still. And now let us see further that what happens. The door opened and there was Hana again, and then by that time door opened and Hana came once again. And where is the anesthetic, she asked in a clear voice. And then she became ready, she made up her mind to help to Dr. Sadao in operation. And Sadao motioned with his chin, he indicated that it is as well that you come back. It was good that she had come back, and this fellow is beginning to stir because he was moving, and since he was doing the operation, that movement of the body was not good, and that's why he required at that particular time to be given anesthetic. So she had the bottle and some cotton in her hand, but how shall I do it, because Hana did not know that how to use the anesthetic, how to give it to him. Simply saturate. Then doctor told her how to do that. Simply, the doctor explained her that simply saturate that with the cotton and hold it near his nostrils. And Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate detail of his work. And when he breathes badly, move it away a little. When he was not feeling well, then you can move it away from his nostril, he told to her. Then she crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American, and then she sat down there sleeping face of the young American near the enemy soldier, the prisoner, and it was a piteously thin face, she thought, and the lips were twisted. She was that staring towards him, watching him minutely, and the man was suffering whether he knew it or not. And she was also thinking, the thought was going on in her that the man, that enemy soldier, was in trouble, whether he knows it or not. Watching him, she wondered, she thought that if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of the prisoners were true, because she had also heard a lot of stories that prisoner of war had to suffer a lot, they had been given a lot of torture, and they came like flickers of rumors. She had heard that kind of rumors many times, and told by word of mouth, and always contradicted. And in the newspapers, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly. And she had read the reports from the newspapers that Japanese armies were appreciated wherever they go. They were received, they were welcomed gladly, with cries of joy at their liberation. But sometimes she remembered such men as General Takima. Remember, student, this character is also important, the third important character of the story after Dr. Sadao and his wife Hana. General Takima's role is also very important here, so remember this character. And who at now she was also thinking about the General Takima, and who at home beat his wife cruelly, who was so cruel, who was so ruthless, so hard hearted, that even he was beating to his wife bitterly at his home, though no one mentioned it. Now that he had fought so victorious a battle in Manchuria, but nobody was reporting it, and because he had also won the battle in Manchuria. And if a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, in his authority, because his wife was living under his authority, and if such kind of man like General Takima, who can be so cruel, to his wife, with his wife, would he not be cruel to one like this, for instance? Then she was confirmed that he must be person like General Takima, who was cruel against his wife. He must be very cruel against the enemy soldier, against the prisoner of war. And now see, students, that next line, that next paragraph, that she hoped anxiously that this man had not been tortured, and she was hoping that this man means that enemy soldier, the prisoner of war to whom they were treating, he would not have been tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars on his neck just under the ear. And at that particular time, that while she was thinking, she was hoping that he had not been tortured, then she found there was a scar, there was a wound mark on his neck just under the ear. So student, I want to stop here, and that's all for today. And remaining part, since story is very long, the remaining part of the story we will study the next day. You keep on remembering this, that you will have to attend. And also I would like to suggest you something, that those questions which are belonged to the part which has already been explained, you must have to attempt those answers, especially those questions are short answer type, so you will have to write the answers in 30 to 40 words each in your notebook. With this I end this session. So thank you students, and have a nice day.